welcome back everybody to another installment of the Bedhead Studios podcast. After a short break before posting, we are back with yet another game, and this time we're going to be discussing Disco Elysium. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think of this one? What do you think of this one, Ari?
Well, we have to inform the people of what this game is first. First and foremost, it was a 2019 RPG made by Zaum Studios. That's all about being a bit schizophrenic, which is big ups for that.
It was
being a detective.
Majorly marketed as the first detective RPG.
Really interesting. I did not know that. Interestingly, this was also pretty much my first video game RPG. I've played a lot of tabletop role-playing games, but this was the actual first RPG that I played. Basically, Max, what's this game about? What if you were to elevator pitch it to me? What would you do to try and get a publisher to buy it?
My elevator pitch would be a schizophrenic detective who wrestles with 6 different parts of his mind, all fighting for control, trying to solve a murder case where he doesn't remember who he used to be and is trying to piece that together by asking random people about what they remember of his past. What do you think? Would you add anything to that?
I think, yeah, that's a pretty solid elevator pitch.
Yeah, I think, I think for anybody going into this game, I wouldn't try to expect a regular, run-of-the-mill detective game. Definitely none of the general idea of I'm going to solve this murder and there's going to be a huge. There's going to be a bunch of different clues all leading to this one crazy reveal kind of thing. I think that definitely has quite a different vibe to that kind of game.
It's because you play as a character who doesn't have any memory prior to you booting up the game. It sort of acts as a game of self-discovery as well as the case discovery, because you're operating along those two different lines simultaneously. It's a very unique one, and I say it's a unique one. I have only played this RPG, but it is genuinely quite unique. I've especially when comparing to the other RPGs I know of. So first and foremost, I mean, the thing that jumps out to me personally was the aesthetic of the game.
Oh, it is beautiful.
It is
incredible.
Beautiful in the most disgusting ways. Like the portraits of the characters are riveting. The portraits. Sorry, a big portion of this game is reading and listening to dialogue and making decisions based upon that. So you'll be standing there and there'll be a pop-up of dialogue. I read they had 1 million words done for this game, which is longer than every Harry Potter book put together or something like that, which is an inordinate amount of dialogue. Granted, it doesn't have to all, flow as linearly into each other, but still.
It's crazy as well, because a lot of that dialogue you'll never see.
Yeah. What percentage, do you have any idea what percentage the average player will see?
I'm not sure, honestly. I think
game?
It's probably
20?
I would guess 20%. I think that's a little too low. Most people surely would click through every option. And I mean, you like kind of soft locked out of certain things, and your choices do quite decide what path that you go down.
That's true.
But in general, I'd say you do see probably on half the game, at least, surely.
Well, okay, you say half the game, though. I've been listening to the Expanse series. I've almost finished the 4th book in 2 months, which is absurd. But The point is, each of those books is about 500 pages, and each of those books is 20 hours long listening to. So if you listen to every dialogue option that you're faced and you finish the game with 30 hours, that's about, 750 pages. I think that's still much less than half of the Harry Potter series strung together. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point.
So I'm not sure. Maybe they speak faster, or maybe people click through their responses. Personally, like, unless I was just bored of the dialogue that I was hearing, which wasn't super often, but did happen, I was listening to all of the voice acting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, the voice acting is 100% a highlight. Apparently, Disco Elysium, the final cut, in this cut, they finalized adding voices to all the characters, and it blows my mind that the game is played any other way, right? It is...
I mean, all the
like,
voice actors
the
did like an amazing job.
Incredible jobs. And the freaking internal voice is so ominous.
Oh.
These characters in your own head telling you what to do, telling you what they're thinking. It's a very unique experience.
And each voice just has such a personality to it. Just like, to be honest though, I do like understand, even if you didn't have the voiceover, every single voice is written in its own like personal way. You could tell who said it, even without having like a point to who did.
That's true. And each of them have their own, like you said, all the voices in your head have their own rules for how they talk and what they talk about. And it's really interesting hearing each of those voices because they each examine the world with such a unique perspective. They look at situations very, very different ways. And very importantly, at the start of the game, you decide which of these voices are loudest in your mind. Which of these voices have the most control. There are 3 options. There's the logician, who is all about smarts. There is the empath, who can read vibes super well. And then there's the brawn, who just shoulders their way through.
I think you can also just make a custom character.
Oh, really? Yeah, true. True.
I did that. I did made you
made your own custom?
Logic and psyche entirely.
Yeah. Cool. So 0 brawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Well, it does limit you to like a minimum of 2 in the other 2.
Right, okay.
Because you have 5-5-2-2 is the most extreme split you can do.
Okay. I went for the empath in my run. And how different do you expect each of those to be? Each of those 3.
I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to say because I've only played through the game once.
Yeah, fair.
But honestly, I do think it would be quite different. From what I've been told is the logic pathway is the best way to play through the game for the first time because it will give you the most trivia about the world and like the world building and such. Just because of encyclopedia.
Yeah, true.
And you'll kind of get to know the world a lot better. Which is cool, definitely, because I think it's a really interesting setting.
What do you think of the decision behind setting the game in not Earth whatsoever? Like an alternate Earth that has very many analogs, like very overt analogs. What did you think of that decision?
I mean, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I've got to think to say about that once we get into the spoiler section.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good. I mean, have you actually got a lot of the like plot through your playthrough in terms of what the world actually is? Because I actually didn't. I missed that part. And then I had to have some of our friends explain it to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to spoil it, but it's actually it's not Earth at all. To be very clear, I mean it does make like a bunch of references to France and a bunch of regions.
I was going to say there is like Russia, right? That's a thing.
Russia.
It's I don't remember exactly, but I could have sworn there was reference to. Maybe I'm just I'm just bucketing Russia into the Marxist communist.
There's definitely references to that, but it's more so treated as, like, the political ideologies thing of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big part of the game as well.
Yeah. Deciding how your character plays, who they are. So yes, the aesthetic is incredible. The audio is very good. The voice acting is incredible.
And the writing
mechanics
is also really good.
Oh, the writing
Without
is
spoilers.
really, really good. The writing is really, really good. But not even just on the macro scale. The fact that they have a game that can be attacked from so many different directions. Here's a spoiler. I hit a 55% check 7 times in a row at the start of the game and failed every single time and had to find another way around that issue. Which I will admit, I straight up believed that it was hard locked.
Soft locked.
I would straight up believed that they had coded it so you cannot succeed against Measurehead at the very start. Apparently you can. I didn't know that, but anyway, the core resolution, if you would call it, I mean, yeah, it is a dice resolution mechanic. The core dice resolution mechanic is when making a decision or saying something that will impact the world in a way that is uncertain, much like a tabletop role-playing game, you'll roll 2d6 and then add your characteristic, which is the category of that skill. Then you'll add the skill itself. So imagine the characteristic of body and the skill of endurance, and then you'll roll the 2d6, and then them adding together, whether you beat the target number or not, then denotes whether it's a success or a failure. And I think this game does a really good job of... Because I was looking at this game a lot through the eyes of somebody who runs tabletop role-playing games. I think this game creates some very, very good examples of failing forward, of your character failing forward. Because when it comes to tabletop role-playing games, players and GMs often have this instinct that rolling and missing a dice roll is bad. And that's because I think it's somewhat difficult to imagine how failure can become more interesting. And it's a hard thing for me as a GM to get used to allow players to fail and then be like, okay, so you fucked up, here's the thing that happens. And making that interesting is so important. And this game is a good lesson of that. This game, if you roll a fail, I mean, there are certain fails where you could just retry them at a later date if the situation changes, which is a cool feature. But I think the most important rolls, the red checks, the unretriable checks that leave you thinking, damn, should I really ask this person that and risk this blowing up in my face? Or should I just let it slide and not bother? I think forcing the player into scenarios like that is really, really, really interesting. Do you have any thoughts on the dice resolution mechanic?
I think it's really good. I love the number one, having the crit success and crit fail. Big fan.
Classic.
Yeah, I think it's... And it also opens up like an avenue for people who want to, save and retry. It's like you can always just like succeed if you really want to. Just brute force the game.
Oh, true.
I mean, I did that.
Telling me about that.
I did that with a few things.
Really?
Yeah.
I never did that.
It's funny.
I literally never did that. Yeah, no. I know Gabe was telling me like, oh yeah, it's an RPG, so you want to save it and then you want to reload to get like so that you can save scum and stuff.
You can railroad down a certain pathway,
Yeah.
But I think there was like certain checks that I just didn't want to fail. But it wasn't necessarily for even red checks, to be honest. I think red checks I kind of let roll. It was mostly white checks because I would get annoyed that I would try it 3 times by putting skill points into that skill and then it would fail.
Yeah. No, that's pretty frustrating. That is pretty frustrating. No, I guess I didn't have that mindset, and there is a crazy example of the only time I accidentally saved Scummed by dying mid conversation and completely changed the course of the game accidentally. Potentially, I don't. Looking back on that scene, it looks like it might have concluded in a similar way, but in the moment, it was a mind blow. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. Yeah, it's a cool resolution mechanic. The core gameplay is pretty much just walking around town, as Max said, asking about the case, asking about yourself, asking about the world, and then people asking you about the case, asking about you about yourself, asking you about the world. And you're, interestingly, quite a bit like a tabletop role-playing game. As you make decisions and things, they have tangible effects on the world, your character. So, to a certain extent, you are retconning information about, firstly, who your character is, but that's in all RPGs, but then also what your character has done, and what the world is like, and things like that. Excuse me. Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. I'd say...
So, yep.
It is a lot like basically a puzzle game in terms of being a detective game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So, Max, I think we could wrap up the end of the spoiler-free zone with this very important question.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think should play this game? Who's the specific type of person that first and foremost should be the one to try this game?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think, well, certainly somebody with patience in terms of reading, because there's a lot of reading / listening in this game. A lot of it. So I think you have to definitely have a certain level of enthusiasm for that. Then I think definitely if you like RPGs, I mean, this is like really, really good world building, really, really good writing. It's just incredible, really. I think obviously there's not a lot of action in terms of actual, dynamic gameplay. So certainly come into it expecting something that you'd expect from like a general RPG, an actual RPG.
It does. In that sense, it does. It does actually remind me a lot of a tabletop role-playing game in that sense. You know what I mean? Very stripped back. There's zero combat mechanics in this one. It's just going around and asking around. And the GM, it's a very good GM. I'll say that much. They've thought very deeply about this world and the case at hand. So, this specific type of person, I'm just trying to get the list in order. Firstly, somebody who enjoys reading. Like if you're a big reader of books, even listener of audiobooks is basically the same thing in this case. That's definitely a plus. Somebody who likes RPGs, somebody who likes detective stories. I think the detective stories one I would lean less hard on. You know what I mean?
100%. I think it's
it still is a detective story. It's just
it's more of
a
mystery uncovering thing, less of a detective story.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Almost
so somebody who
thriller-esque,
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair way to put it. So somebody who likes reading, somebody who likes RPGs, be that video game or tabletop. Somebody who likes mysteries. Yeah, I think mystery is a better way to put it. And I would say somebody who thinks a lot about their own values or the world's values. Is that fair?
I feel like you don't necessarily need that to enjoy this game.
You don't need it to enjoy this game.
It's certainly like I think it would have like a unique selling point to somebody like that, for sure. But I definitely feel like you could just do the regular RPG thing of choose the kind of person you want to role play as, and then pick the options regarding that. So
the world's most laughable centrist, as Zorm puts it.
Yeah.
I will say this game shocked me with how funny it was.
Oh, it was actually incredible.
It does comedy in a incredibly unique way that I think I've only ever seen at tabletop role-playing game tables, in the sense that they present a scenario and then you get to respond to that scenario, and you can respond to it in some hilariously creative ways, and then you just see the other characters in the world like stop and take a minute, and they ask you like, what the fuck did you just say? What did you just do? And it's really funny. It's a really funny game. So yeah. Anyway, if any of that sounds interesting to you, check it out. Would you put a... I don't think you should put a star rating here, because I don't think I would want to influence somebody who hasn't played the game with a star rating. So yeah, if those notes sounded like something that you would like to give a shot, maybe pause here, give it a shot. And if you get, a handful of hours in and it's not working for you, don't feel like you have to finish it. I think, how long do you have to play this game to get it, quote unquote, do you reckon? Because there are certain games you can get in the first run. Like Hades, I feel like you can get after your first 1 or 2 runs. I think this game, especially for me, because I tried it so long ago and then basically put it down for a while until we decided to finish this off. I think I hadn't gotten past the breach of just finding another way around Measurehead. I was so pissed off at that.
I feel like you do get what the game's about until that point. I feel like you get like in the first hour, but I think
in the first hour,
in the first hour, I feel like you can get what the game is about.
Okay, fair enough.
At least like the general gameplay loop and what you're in.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you're not gonna get the full like richness of the game. You're gonna get everything, because I think it's definitely something that builds up and gets better and better.
It is. I think with a lot of longer form works like books and games like this, it is definitely the kind that does get better with age, because it's so not reliant upon mechanical inputs. The mechanics don't necessarily... It's very difficult to make a game where it's mechanics building mechanic upon mechanic upon mechanic throughout the entire game is possible. You know what I mean? Because there's only so much one mind can take before you just hit cognitive overload. Whereas I think with ideas and stories, because its rules are laid out, and the story is basically just that, a book, a choose your own adventure book, it is easier for that to build. Anyway, this is game is good if you keep playing. If any of these ideas sound interesting to you, probably pause the video here and give it a shot. And then once you finish it, come back and listen to the rest of the video if you'd like.
It's true.
But yeah, now we're going to continue on with the spoiler not free zone. This is just for people who have already finished the game or have heard that description and said, that's not for me. Let's hear about the juice.
Oh, and there's a lot of juice. Okay.
Let's get to squeezing. What's first on your mind?
Okay. Number one, I've been dying to share this fact with you. Did you know that the main writer who made this entire thing?
Yeah.
This entire world was constructed when he was a teenager playing tabletop games, tabletop RPGs. He built this entire thing himself.
Damn,
since when he was like 16.
That is really sick. Is that why your eyebrows went up when I said it's a really good GM?
Yeah.
Something like that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
you can definitely tell in terms of the entire game mechanics is super inspired. You know, skill checks.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking the whole time. That's really interesting.
And I mean, yeah, I mean, they did it justice in terms of putting it into a video game format.
Yeah.
And
that's really cool.
it's got good progression as well. And you have like things like thoughts, I feel are also quite almost feat-esque, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I did like the diegeticness of that system. Where instead of your guy like unlocking a skill, quote unquote, whatever that is, having it being like a cognitive breakthrough that your character makes.
Yeah.
Contact Mike. Oh my god. Yeah, no, that was really cool. The spot I wanted to talk about just then was the very unique experience I had with the interaction with Ruby.
Oh yeah.
Near the end of the game, you get to Ruby. She like casts brain warp bomb on you, and then
Audio gun.
Your audio gun on you, and then you try struggling through it. And then I rolled, it was like an 81% chance to break the audio gun or whatever, the audio bomb. And I rolled and I missed. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. I guess I'm just going to keep taking damage from this. Well, I know it deals damage to you. It deals bonus damage to you. And I was still healing through it. And then I'm getting like near the end of the conversation. But because it's still doing damage to you every single like 3 minutes or something, I just die. And then I had to refresh. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Wait,
I go up. Yeah?
Did you ever talk to the ultra rich light bending guy?
No.
If you knew, if you did, you would have said yes straight away. But yeah, I talked to him, and we got the whole investment seed round. So I started the game with like $100 extra from that point. But also, and then I didn't realize that you could just buy an infinite amount of healing items at the
I found that out right at the end of the game. And then after I died to Ruby, I found out you could buy the healing items, and then so I stocked up, and then I went back. And then I got to the 81% check. It's like, okay, I'll see what happens. I'll break it. I broke it. G'day. And then she says, oh well, fuck. Takes the pistol, puts it in her mouth, and then just kills herself.
You failed at stopping her?
No, because I successfully killed the audio bomb.
Oh, but you can try to talk her out of it.
Oh yeah, I think I failed.
Yeah, I did that exact same sequence as well.
Yeah, that's really funny. That's really funny. And then I was just like, wow, I guess this game can go many ways. I just wouldn't have known the things she was gonna say.
It's funny because I was being dunked on in the voice chat as well, because I was playing it with a few friends in voice chat, and I got Ruby killed. And they're like, well, what? You got Ruby killed? Yeah. But you got Ruby killed as well, so I think we're in the same wavelength here.
Same boat. I would have shot her if I could. I would no.
So true.
I was every time my character was like, okay, we're going into danger, I would load both pistols into each of my hands and walk in to the scenario with both of them at the ready.
I was always running around with the saber in hand because it looked sick.
The saber was awesome. I was my character, he was a hobo cop, so I would always go around collecting tar and then exchanging that for cash. So the writer made the game world at 16 for his own campaign.
Well, I think he developed the world throughout, running it for his friends.
Damn, that's so sick.
Okay, but do you know what the world is really like in terms of how it works?
No.
I don't have full understanding, but from what I remember, basically, you have different sections of the world, and it's actual matter existing, right? And then between those sections is the pale. And that's what they talk about, the pale, because they can. Recently, what they've realized is everything's shrinking and being consumed by the pale. And there's like multiple worlds which are then separated by the pale. The pale's like a huge sea, and then but the sea is kind of strange in that it exists outside of where matter exists. You know.
What?
Basically, you have all these sections of reality where everybody exists, and they've only recently started learned the ability to travel between through the pale. So
That's crazy.
yeah, and then so Revachol is kind of like the newest area, and it's just been colonized, sort of. I mean, it is still like, I think in terms of history,
Yeah.
a few hundred years, but yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty cool. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Did you do the meth lab quest?
No.
The you know the guys in the tent?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
Well,
get
I
them?
mean, I helped them set up a rave in the church.
Hmm. They were actually trying to set up the meth lab.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they wanted to set that up in the church?
Yeah.
Oh, I misunderstood.
That's their number one goal, actually. But you have to like do some checks, and it's like,
For them to reveal that fact.
yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
right.
but did you have to talk to the woman, the software
Outside.
engineer?
Yeah,
No,
the software
inside.
engineer.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
she
yeah.
would have mentioned that it's a meth lab though. But
Oh,
maybe
interesting.
it's because I already succeeded the check to know it from
Maybe.
them. But yeah, it's pretty, you know.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Hardcore to the mega.
hardcore to the mega.
Dude, the egghead puzzle was so funny.
I mean, I couldn't solve it, so I just looked it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I got through.
How?
Brute force.
Holy! I mean, it doesn't indicate to you regarding that you should do like another dialogue tree after doing the original one. You know.
What do you mean?
Well, he like says a specific line, like
Yeah.
"But is it?"
Yeah.
And then you continue, and then you don't know where to go from there in terms of like which dialogue options to pick from there. You know.
Right. Okay, maybe I didn't get all the way then.
No, but if you got the achievement, you got it.
Okay, I'm not. I forgot to check if I did actually get the achievement in the end or not. All good.
But yeah, I mean, the writing was just really good. Every single character was so good,
Hmm.
and every
Each
single
individual
storyline was so interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, there were what were some of your highlight plot points that occurred to your character?
Hmm. Highlight plot points. Well, I think the final reveal was cool, but it is quite interesting in terms of it kind of lets you down from this detective expectation.
Yeah.
You have this strong expectation of, oh, we're gonna find the murderer, and it's gonna be a big reveal, you know?
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's just a guy that you have never seen, and there's no way you could have figured it out. Well,
Yeah.
maybe if you were like incredibly smart and you noticed every single clue and knew every part of the lore.
Yeah.
But even then, it would still be a guess. And then it seems almost like a kick in the face when this is revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what did you think about that?
I thought it was a little bit disappointing, but it was okay because of the rest of the ending. I love the rest of the ending.
As
But-
in being confronted by.
Wait, did you notice the Insulidian Phasmid?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That blew my mind. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
that went crazy. And did you do the quest line to it? Like helping Gary? Oh, not Gary, sorry. The other guy?
What do you mean?
There's a quest line where you're trying to catch it.
How is that? As in, when you say quest line, you mean like walking up to it?
No. Before you go to that island,
Oh, right.
There's a quest line where you're like helping this guy set up the traps.
Guy.
Yeah.
True, the cryptologist or cryptoologist or
Yeah.
something. That's right. I forgot about that.
The cryptid
Yeah, that was
hunter.
a while ago.
Yeah. So that's so cool because if you do that quest line all the way, I searched up all of this stuff in terms of like looking at how my choices impacted the game and also like all the endings. And the interesting part is like I got the picture with it because it did the whole quest line,
Yeah.
and it's the only way to get like a picture of you and the cryptid, and that moment was so cool.
That's awesome.
I mean, just talking to it in general is super cool.
That's pretty sick. Okay, from the start of the game, chronologically, what were some of your highlight characters and moments and
Oh, Kuno.
pieces?
We love Kuno. Oh my god.
Kuno's hilarious.
Kuno is what a character.
Infuriating.
It's just incredible.
I love the reveal of his deadbeat dad.
Oh yeah, that's
That
just
was great.
That's brutal.
Dude,
that's so
I was
brutal.
so petrified. I was almost gonna bash him, but then I chickened out. It was too much for me. I was making sure my character would not run while in his house because I was worried it was gonna wake him up. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was really good. I mean, it's just I actually did that very late. I did that
All right.
near the end, right before I left to go to the
Wow.
island. And I mean, that was just really sad.
Yeah.
Doing the final reveal and stuff.
Yeah.
What I am so saddened by is right before the shootout,
Yeah.
I didn't get to equip my armor. And I collected
Oh.
every single piece up to that point.
Oh,
Well, except for the
my
helmet,
God.
because you can't get it.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
And apparently it goes crazy if you do have the
Damn.
armor. But yeah, kind of sad.
What happens?
I think you don't get injured.
Like you can't get injured.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because you have the armor, right?
Yeah,
but-
the ceramic armor.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, what other characters? Kim Kutsuragi.
Kim
What a character.
Kitsuragi is such a awesome foil
He is
to your character.
so good as the kind of partner.
Yeah,
Amazing.
perfectly designed partner.
He's just so good. Because he's, number one, he's not very judging, except for a few things.
Mm.
And he just seems like
and that makes it especially painful when he does judge you.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was a
100%.
couple times where like there was even one time where I was sort of just, I'm idly clicking through. I'm like, yeah, top, second, third, fourth result, and then I click the fifth one or something. Then instantly my cop senses were like, oh, Kim did not like you revealing that, or Kim wishes you kept that to yourself, or something like that.
Oh, no.
Stuff like that's really good. What else about Kim were you saying?
Yeah, I think he has quite a lot of character, and he's not very judging. And I think that's very, very good for this game specifically. Because it's a game about making a bunch of silly decisions very often.
Yeah.
Seeing
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah.
And I very much wanted to keep Kim on my side, but he was a very understanding character, so that was good.
From the very start of the game, I tried making it so that Kim wouldn't know that I forgot everything. It became way too difficult, way too quickly
Yeah, I mean
to keep that facade up.
that's pretty brutal. I actually I went to Everard and he just started blackmailing me with my gun, and I just left, and I never came back.
Really?
Yeah, I never spoke to him again, so I never did any
Yeah.
of his quest lines.
Yeah, Everett is another one of my favorite characters because the way he speaks in like this blackmail double speak simultaneously to like just masking his evil intentions and then swapping from like nice guy to not nice guy mid-sentence just like throws you for such a loop. It was very well written and very ominous.
It's so good. And I mean, we all hate Everett.
Yeah, no, Everett is perfectly hateable character. He even looks hateable. He looks like a lot of people have hated him right in the face multiple times. And yeah, I was Everett's bitch for trying to get my gun back and my. Is he the one that had my badge? I forgot.
Ooh, no. I don't remember how, but I got the badge back.
Yeah,
I think it might have been in. Oh, I think it was in your car.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
probably it. Dude, the reveal that I had driven my car into the ocean was so funny. I was like looking at it and then I inspected it. I'm like, I wonder whose this is. And it's like RCM Precinct 51. Blah blah blah. I'm like, oh no. They do those dramatic. I just love revealing stuff that our character has done that we didn't know about. It's really interesting.
That is quite cool. I think on that day actually I didn't have Kim with me. I sent Kim off.
Yes, I think I might not have had Kim either.
Yeah, and apparently actually like a lot of these things have a lot of different like lines if you have Kim with you.
Oh, true.
So actually maybe actually that makes a lot of sense in terms of how much content they wrote. Because think about it, you have to rewrite so many lines for
just
each day.
For Kim or no Kim.
Yeah.
And for different days.
Oh, you know,
and
actually
also,
even in the shootout, you can have Kim be injured and he's taken. And then you can recruit Kuno to go around with you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And then you have Kuno as your companion.
That's awful.
That's sick. That's awesome. You can get
the shootout. The shootout was very funny.
Oh, the shootout was. It was pretty tense.
Yeah.
It was pretty tense.
I had no idea what I was supposed to do, but all I did know is right before the shootout, my hideous necktie said, "The time is now, Breton! Put me in the out." And I basically turned the Molotov into the necktie and alcohol into a Molotov. And then I walked up to the shootout with the Molotov at hand and then fucked the 60% and just yeeted it into the ocean, like comically past any of the guys.
Incredible.
Which was pretty funny. Yeah, I also felt, I mean, probably my biggest issue with the ending was just the...
Kind of like a Deus Ex Machina kind of situation.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. And not only a Deus Ex Machina, but a Deus Ex lore dump. You know what I mean? Like, it was both a Machina and then also a character just telling you about the history of the world, which I was personally much less interested in, rather than just the world building surrounding it.
Well, I think...
Yeah, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, from what I spoke to Gabe about it, it's sort of reveals the number one reason as to why anything really happened, you know? In terms of having this huge revolution and then getting completely oppressed by the authorities and having this one guy left over with... Sorry?
Is that why it's called Revachol? Revolution?
I don't remember, but that
sounds very similar, right?
Yeah.
Having the one guy left over.
This one guy left over, he still harboring kind of the feelings from the revolutionary times. I mean, hiding out for 40 years and then shooting the guy. It's quite interesting in terms of really you, in some ways, had no impact at all in this town. But in some ways, the way I interpreted it was you come in and you have small positive interactions with a bunch of people and you slightly better their life, you know? You don't really
Is,
solve the murder. Well, you do
Yeah,
solve the
it's
murder,
true.
but it seems quite unimpactful when you solve it.
Yeah, it solves
Especially,
itself, arguably.
yeah, especially because this guy almost seems like he's gonna die by himself,
Yeah,
and he's out of ammo. So
yeah,
yeah, that
yeah.
was
Interesting. The whole solves, like, all you can do is just go around and help a couple people out, slightly bettering their lives, is very arguably analogous to real life when it comes to the big issues at stake and at the world right now. Like, all you have control over is the very people that surround you and the small little acts of courage that you can make,
hmm.
which is
Yeah.
what from what you just said is somewhat sounds like a message that the game may be saying. Not sure. Yeah, I guess I definitely do see that perspective.
I mean, I think that's just in terms of what your impact there was. But
Yeah,
I think the main message of the game was sort of don't give up, because you can kind of see the progression of the character and some of the final cutscenes with his divorced wife and such.
Yeah.
Well, actually, not even divorced wife. I don't think they were ever married.
they're split
Yeah.
after 5 years, as in like in the dream.
Yeah, that was a crazy dream. That was so cool.
That was wild.
It was funny having like logic succeed in terms of, oh, I'm gonna win her over. I'm gonna look at that. There's an illogical sequence in your line of reasoning.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
and
and then getting
pointing that out.
corrected. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I mean, don't give up is the message. I feel like that dream was very much like, dude, you have to give up. You have to stop this now.
In terms of moving on, don't
Yeah,
give
yeah,
up
true.
in that sense. Not
Yeah.
on the relationship part,
Yeah, true.
It's about perseverance. I think so.
Very much is.
I think that's what the message was, at least.
I mean, like
overcoming. I guess I did the whole the no alcohol thought.
the no alcohol thought.
Yeah, where it's like you quit drinking, and it unlocks so many options to say I quit drinking.
That's pretty funny.
Which is funny.
That's pretty funny. No, I was just a libertarian. Every time I espoused the benefits of the free market, racking in that +1
Oh,
real
it was so good. Yeah, me too. I was a lib as
crazy
well.
value.
Yeah, it went crazy. How could someone not be a libertarian? In this world especially. There's a quest line for each political faction.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's wild.
It's pretty cool.
That is pretty sick.
I did part of the libertarian one, but then I kind of left it too long, and then you can't do it post shootout.
Oh.
So I missed the ending.
Yeah, damn.
But it's pretty good.
That is pretty good. Why? So a question I had was, this is a very text-heavy game. Why make it specifically a video game RPG? Like, why not tell this story in a novel form or in a movie form or I don't know, anything? A live action musical theater form. Like, why specifically a video game RPG?
The video game aspect is amazing for this game specifically. Number one, it gives you a sense of making these decisions yourself, a sense of ownership over these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You genuinely feel like you're making these kind of decisions for your character. On top of that, you have obviously you can play the game and get to the same point but in different ways for everybody. in terms of how you play the game. You can play it differently. So there is a difference. Like, your choices do matter. And on top of that, I think it plays really well into the message of the game. Because when there is like emotional moments or important moments, the fact that you're clicking the decisions yourself, it doesn't feel very railroaded very much.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it much more powerful, in my opinion.
Fair. That's very fair. What do you reckon this game that the writer was running at 16 years old, what do you think it looked like? Because the world was the same, I get, but the game would have been completely different.
I think
Or
the game was quite different. It must have been more freeform in terms of, obviously, probably not a detective thing. Probably more freeform. But honestly, maybe it was a detective thing. Because I think the ending of the game was actually quite cool. It's set up for another game, which, of course, we know is not going to be coming, unfortunately. But
oh right,
yeah, I think they fell apart. So, but there is something like 5 spiritual successors to the game being developed
really?
by former members of the team. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, but none of them include the writer,
Right. Okay.
which is funny. But
Yeah, that's rough.
I don't know. Yeah, I think
Do you reckon he was running it for multiple players?
oh, that's for sure. I'm pretty certain about that. I mean, he actually. Sorry, to be fair, he published. He had this tabletop RPG, and then he published a book. And the book sold 1,000 copies, and then they made a game.
What was the book?
It was a book, I think, detailing the events of Disco Elysium. It was like actually a book format,
Oh wow.
but much less successful.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah,
exactly sure if that's the case, but it was definitely a book set in the same world. And I think it was probably not called Disco Elysium, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hmm.
I haven't ran any detective TTRPGs yet.
I think detective stuff would be quite complicated. I mean, you have to make it
It's-
not obvious who the killer is.
Yeah.
You have to make it actually interesting. What you can find and stuff.
I did buy this game called Vaesen, which is Nordic horror role-playing, detective role-playing. And it's all about, like, it's sort of like the Monster Hunter vibes of, like, we got to find the thing and then figure out what its catch is, kind of vibe behind it.
Well, like a Scooby-Doo type thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit Scooby-Doo-esque. I mean, all the Vaesen are actual, like, folklore and fairy tales. Like, they are real in that sense. It's more about, like, it's not as simple as just shooting the beast. It's you got to figure out what its catch is through an amount of trial and error. But it would be interesting to run more of a detective style thing. I guess I'm sort of running a detective style game in the superhero game, Masks and New Generation. It's very much like a couple larger forces doing evil stuff behind closed doors, which I'm not sure if I would classify as a detective per se. But anyway, yeah, when I do, its format probably will be inspired somewhat by Disco Elysium. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, Disco Elysium arguably isn't as much of a detective game, you know?
No, I'd say. I'd say it's more of a thriller for sure. I don't think it's
more of a thriller. It still has detective stuff.
It has detective elements for sure. I think there's like certain times, especially when you utilize visual calculus. That guy.
Yeah.
That looks.
Visual calculus is kind of sick.
You feel like a detective.
Yeah, I sort of wish I went the logician just for the sake of visual calculus. He's so cool.
He is really cool.
He's very cool. Yeah, easy. And what do you reckon? What does this game say about the medium of video games?
I mean, I think it's quite innovative. It's almost. It's just an amazing combination of TTRPGs. I mean, I haven't played that many TTRPGs
Yeah.
or even TTRPGs in video game form, but I must say, from what I've seen, Gabe play and other people play, it's certainly seems more D&D-esque, or the medium in general is what I mean. Sorry.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone's copying this kind of going on an adventure form where you have like a party and you level up and such. And it's not. I mean, there's certainly a story, but it doesn't feel as focused on it.
Yeah, it's much more fly on a wall than the average RPG story goes. Like in this one, you're sort of just stumbling into the aftermath of some fucked up shit that's happened, trying to make the most of it and trying to help out where you can. But ultimately, there are much larger forces at play, and you're sort of just an ant trying to get a glimpse of a city.
For sure.
In that sense.
I mean, Disco Elysium, it's so well written in terms of everything feels so alive. It feels like this is an actual world. You know, the world building is just superb. Maybe, and it almost feels like so real in terms of these characters. Maybe that's a significant aspect of it because it doesn't seem fantastical, you know. Whereas all these TTRPGs, usually very fantastical.
Or at least the standard of... I wonder what the split of RPGs that are fantastical and... Because I'm sure, I mean, there definitely would be RPGs that are much more grounded in this sense. And in some elements, this game isn't. Oh, the little room, the little section that was the game developers, the whole like meta irony of like the game devs not having enough money to finish the game.
Oh yeah.
And then running the RPG over the radio and stuff like that. I just thought it was very funny. The self-insert of the devs.
That was pretty cool.
That was pretty neat. But yeah. It sounds like we could probably wrap it up soon. Would you say, from a review, what is your final closing thoughts of this game sort of look like?
I think, oh man, I don't remember my past history in terms of the rating things for everything else.
That's okay. You can just caveat with, I don't know how properly to rate things. Here are my thoughts.
I don't know how to properly rate things. Here are my thoughts. Let's go with, I think Disco Elysium, maybe a 9. Maybe a 9.
Okay. Why is that?
I think.
Why is it so high, and then why does it fall short of a 10?
Why does it fall short of a 10? Maybe because there was a point where I dropped the game, and I feel like at that exact point, it didn't capture my attention enough. It wasn't as interesting. Now, I do think that point, if I just played a little bit longer, I would have got to the significant conflict aspect of the game, and I would have been way more hooked. But I think there it kind of fails.
So,
which is a bit unfortunate. But the problem is the rest of the game is just superb. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, no. I was just trying to clarify your position. So, it's a very, very, very good game, and at times its pacing does slow down and can get a bit less interesting.
Yes. Well, I think just the one time.
Yeah, the one time.
I think the rest of it I felt pretty engaged.
I thought the small scale writing was incredible. Like, I meant, like, any individual conversation, any individual sentence, paragraph, word. The order of sizes on that was not correct, but yeah, I thought the small scale writing was really, really good. I thought the large scale writing was quite good, I didn't obviously understand all of the pieces at play with the story, with the world and stuff, which I don't think is the goal of the author in the first place. I think it's very much more of a vibe-based game. I really loved a lot of the tiny little interactions and things. Sorry, this is a cutaway from my final thoughts, but I just remembered the conversation I had with the woman talking about how she's probably lost her husband and he needs finding or something, and she's like, no, I haven't, that's not, and then he's like, yes, you have, or something like that, and he keeps saying it, and then she eventually caves and she's like, well, actually. Anyway, just the little dioramas like that, in my mind, honestly come across a little bit it's not Neil Gaiman. Whoever wrote Hitchhiker's Guide. They come off a little Hitchhiker's Guide in the sense that the writers can really brilliantly just like snip off this other tree that you don't get to see all of, but you see enough of a snippet of that it really piqued my attention. I think my biggest issue with the game is maybe just the pacing and feeling stuck. There felt like a lot of times in the game that I just felt like I didn't know what I should be doing or what I could be doing or where I should be going, who I should be talking to. Maybe that is growing pains of not having played a video game RPG before. Maybe sometimes the pacing's bad. Maybe some of my roles just really didn't line up, and maybe I wasn't abusing the save scum mechanic nearly as hard as I should have been. But for the fact that, yeah, sometimes the pacing really, really felt like it dragged. And then the final exposition dump at the end, I was, like, hearing it now, I do more understand your perspective of, like, yeah, the ending says it's more of an introspective project where it's like you're looking at the smaller scale. It's not you that cracks the case, quote unquote. I get that. I still find the just expo dump at the end, I was like actually falling asleep to. That was the only part in the game where I actually wanted to just like spacebar through, because it was like, yeah, I guess I should be reading this, but it's, yeah, I'm just so, I don't care about this random new character, and I don't care about just reading the lore documents that they could have hidden in the achievement section of the journal or something like that.
I mean, the writing though for the character was actually really good. Like the character itself.
Oh, I think the writing for it was still really good.
I mean, it was just so. It was so cool. The spot that was exposition dump, I personally just wasn't a fan of, whatsoever. It's kind of true. I mean, but it's just the writing was so good because, you know, he was the revolutionary kind of like communist teacher or like communist officer, which would enforce the communist ideals upon the commune. Yeah. And that kind of gave him this background of being very academic and intelligent, and you could tell because he just like spoke so beautifully, you know, and it's so interesting. I won't say that like that expo dump at the end of the game, as well put as it was, it didn't ruin the game or anything for me, but I just thought at times that style of delivery may have been characteristic of the world in some senses, of the game. Like some of the spots where I think my biggest, I'll finish that thought first. I do think at times they were leaning on the on the telling, not showing, and that's obviously difficult to do in a game that has so much going on. That's just how I felt personally. Like, I guess another example would be the scene where you meet
the lover of the very the very mysterious guy who appears in the bar, who was there on the night of the hanging or something, or on the night of the shooting, or anyway, the guy who's like a foreign diplomat, and then he's talking about it. There are a couple examples.
The Sunday friend.
Yeah, the Sunday friend. Yeah. Like that guy just giving a bunch of exposition, and there were a couple little moments. So I think the two issues of exposition dumps and not really knowing what I should be doing, because there was a part of me that was always like, I wish I could just mainline the main story, and maybe that's just how I interact with games. And I feel like with this one, it doesn't really give you the option to. I sort of felt like I was just doing everything because I had the time to. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I could have just sat on the bench for hours upon hours and just, like, slept through the days, technically. But yeah, it sort of just felt like that at times. And so for those two reasons, I would personally give it closer to a 7, I think.
Interesting.
Though it's the kind of game that I would recommend to a specific person, like, so hard. Like, I think Finn would really like Disco Elysium.
Oh, for sure.
And I think, I mean, I already know Henry's played it. I know Henry would really like Disco Elysium.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like, it is definitely the kind of game where I would specifically recommend it to a couple people and not everyone. Which is, I would say, much better than a 7 where it's like, yeah,
everyone kind of likes it.
Everyone kind of likes it. Like, I'm always more of a fan of.
I think the biggest problem is just the sheer amount of exposition.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. If someone can get over that,
yeah,
I think they'd quite enjoy it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just, by the time I got to the ending, there was so much buy-in that I literally exhausted every single quest that I could do.
Yeah, I think I did mainly that as well.
That at that point, I was actually, I was disappointed by the ending. Don't get me wrong. Mostly the whole detective thing, but I'm kind of over it now, I guess, in retrospect.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I just enjoyed the exposition of that the guy gave as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I also think something that impacted my enjoyment of the game was possibly how I had played it in sort of 3 different chunks. It is very much a game that is benefited by playing in one playthrough.
Yeah, and
sort of like Outer Wilds and similar games like that, where it's like, if you put it down for a year and then pick it back up, like if you do that to Hades, I keep using Hades because it's just such a clean, neat design for a game. I'm not even a big fan of the game, but I think it's a good example to illustrate this point, where like, if you put down Hades for a year, pick it back up again, you get the gist. Like, after your first run, you're like, yeah, I know what I have to do. I know how it feels to play the game. I know how I can have a satisfying time playing the game. I think there are games like this where you very much benefit of like, yeah, this is going to be my game that I play, 30 minutes a week, an hour a week, 2 hours a week. Just like just keeping it regular rather than sitting on it for eons.
I feel like, actually though, I was going to say something that's not technically about that, but I would say honestly, finding the killer, it's not even really the ending. I feel like it's much more satisfying when you do the instability and Phasmid. That's like the number one experience. It's like the peak. It's like
yeah. Strangely, because it's like, I didn't even know what was, because I didn't even remember the cryptozoologist. But I don't know, having Kim see part of my internal world, which I thought I had been the only one that could see the whole time, like was a crazy experience. And then the debrief with the team at the end, that was actually quite cool.
Did you get a picture with it?
No, I didn't.
Did you get to do a conversation with it?
What?
You can talk to it, yeah.
That's crazy.
You get like a full dialogue thing.
That's wild.
It gives you more exposition about the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does it come from the Pale?
No. Oh. No.
Yeah, right.
But I think it... I mean, it's scared that everything will end. So I don't quite remember if it was because of the Pale or... It was just scared.
Because of the humans.
Yeah. Because, you know, there was like a thing, it's like the oxygen holocaust or whatever.
Oh.
It was like... Most, because the atmosphere just slowly got turned into oxygen. And most life forms on Earth couldn't process oxygen, so it was just poison to them, so they just died. So like 90% of things died. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess for those two reasons it gets bumped down to a 7. But the reason I still think it's very high is because its unique RPG elements are unreal and really, really good. Really, really good for anyone who is a fan of literary works, who is a fan of TTRPGs, for who is a fan of... what was the other qualifier? I forgot. Not necessarily qualifier. I wouldn't even think about the mystery or thriller thing for a recommendation. I think that those two things are the most important. Either somebody who's a big fan of written books and somebody who is a fan of RPGs.
Yeah.
I think those are the only two I would apply.
And
so that's why like Henry and Finn would be my like 2 recommendations for it, because they fit the bill so perfectly.
For sure.
But yeah, are we cool to call it there?
I think so. I mean, we gave our ratings, we got our general thoughts on the game. You, reader, should replay the game. Play it on a different
character.
stat distribution.
Then play it again a 3rd time. Get the full experience. Do you think you'll play it again? I don't think I will.
I don't think I will, but only because there's not enough time to play the same game twice.
I think sometimes there is.
What game would you do that for?
Definitely not Dota 2. No, there's no way it'd be Dota 2.
Okay.
Probably Ultra Kill. Ultra Kill's pretty tight, pretty short.
I think Ultra Kill though, you'd go through Ultra Kill fast on the second playthrough. So
that is true, though.
Like, dramatic
I would play
fast.
a harder difficulty.
Okay. Actually, this is spoilers. I was going to ask, is Ultra Kill a 10 to be worth replaying twice?
The game's not done yet.
Yeah. But what's your like minimum category for replaying it?
I don't think I can put, but the
like
thing
based
is,
on
like,
rating. I mean, that's kind of true.
because
But okay, some games are unreplayable.
Outer Wilds you cannot play.
Yeah, obviously, but that's like one of the only games which you cannot replay.
Okay, that's fair. But I mean, there are a lot of story games that would be akin to that. Case of the Golden Idol. I guess
true.
That's just sort of the same. I think this is just the issue with puzzle games.
Yeah.
You just can't play a puzzle game again. What point does it have to be? I don't know, because I feel like there might even be trashy games that I return to. You know what I mean? That are just like comfort games, I suppose.
That's true. I mean, the thing about it is that it feels like it requires a lot of mental effort.
Yeah, this game for sure.
Yeah.
It is much more involved than the average game. Yeah, I personally won't replay it because it wasn't that it wasn't that impactful to me. And if it was a shorter game, then maybe.
I thought it was cool, but
I thought it was
fair
really cool.
enough.
Yeah, and yeah, we can have differing opinions. That's all good. But yeah, that's our game. Check back in. Well, what is it? 1 month from now?
So
yeah, I guess like 1 month. 1 month from now.
2 weeks.
We'll play Tunic.
Oh, Tunic.
Oh wait,
yes.
true. 2 weeks for the next episode, 1 month for the next game episode, and then we are back onto monthly, much more sane monthly schedule.
Yes,
rather
boss.
than bi-weekly. Easy as well. That's Max and Ari. Oh, we forgot to introduce our names at the start.
Well, they
okay.
got the
Yeah, they got the previous episodes.
what's it called?
No one's tuning in at this point. Our longtime fans would be starting from day one,
Yeah, that's right.
and those are the only ones that matters. Anyway, that's been Ari and Max's Disco Elysium review.
Oh, that's all, folks.
That's all, folks. See you. What is the bunny say at the end? Is it just that's all, folks? The what you know, the closing circle?
Yeah, I don't know.
Cartoon.
I think he bites his carrot or something.
Okay. Okay, as the final sound for this episode, can you make a really good biting carrot sound effect?
Oh.